Today we're going to talk about how we set up our first step to do that, what we really looking forward and what we pursue. And there's some life experience or life advice that we really want to give out today. So, do you have a drink in your hand? If you have, let's yum cha with jam. Okay, so today we have a really special guest here today, all the way from UK that I have been mentioned in my sneak peek part. So he's one of my dude. He's a really cool guy, amazing guy. We met each other. Do you? Okay, so actually, we know each other for a really short period of time, but I don't know why we really click so well. It's just like we're doing something special, and back to
Mm.
then when I'm trying to do some things, and actually it's the things he really wanted to do too. And yeah, and today we click it together, and we are doing the same things now. So let us welcome Leo.
Yes, I'm gonna hype myself
Welcome, my
up.
friend. Welcome.
Thank
Like
you, thank you,
to
thank you.
benefit the audience that we are listening or the listeners are listening to our podcast here. So, would you like to introduce yourself? Short, briefly about yourself.
Yeah, so I guess my name is Leo. I live in the UK. I live in London. I've actually migrated to UK when I was 12. So originally I'm from Lithuania. So currently at the moment in life, so I'm a life coach, a freelance life coach. I'm a youth worker, so that's my full-time job. And on the side, I also have a podcast, which is called Beyond the Surface. And that's been really great so far. So yeah, that's who I am at the moment. But
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
but to answer the question in a weird way, none of those things are who I am either, because obviously, like, there's a lot of different values that I have as a person and then as an individual. Those are just the things I do. So
Yeah, that's good. So for those who didn't know Leo, actually he ran a podcast with his friend, and it's Beyond the Surface podcast. So if you guys are really interested to check out, I will link down below in my descriptions, and I will post out the pops up here. And for those who are listening on those audio platforms, so I will just post down the links. His Instagram, his podcast Instagram link down there. So Leo, I'm not sure, very sure. Are we good to talk? I mean, like, are we comfortable to talk about how we meet each other?
yeah, no, of course, why not? I'm comfortable with
Okay.
that. I'm an open
Yeah,
book.
you're comfortable? Okay, so I will share it.
Yeah.
So basically, we met each other in a Discord server. So in that point of time, I guess Leo, you joined long time ago, right?
No, no, I've actually I kind of joined around I believe no, it was around I think I joined around December, late December, no, January. I joined around January, but I wasn't really
Into it.
super active on there at that time. I think I got a bit more active on the Discord around March as well, so kind of like around the same time that you joined,
Oh,
in terms of just kind of joining the voice chat and just kind of like being involved in the general chat and stuff like that. But prior to that, I was
we're
just
just
kind
bubbling
of
around.
there,
We're just
just
talking around.
yeah. But prior to that, from January till March, I was just only there like once every like 3 days or something, just to kind of like vent what my issues were and see what responses I'm gonna get and what kind
Yeah, yeah.
of um, guidance people had to offer
Yeah,
me.
so therefore, so that's I know. Basically, we just vent in there, and we just talk about anything in there. So in advance, when we have a lot of bunch of friends, so shout out to our What Do gang. Okay,
What do?
so there are a bunch of our friends. Yeah, there are a bunch of our friends. So we just holding each other bags, and we of course after a long while, I guess after a period of time, we just comfortable with our current situations, and everyone got out from their breakup or the worst situations, and we are kind of doing good now. And it's good to find someone in I would never imagine before that I met someone in online and actually can click together.
Hmm.
So actually Leo is one of the person that I met through, and is a really amazing person because I if I'm not mistaken, Leo, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's around May you were starting to find out the equipments that you wanted to start a podcast. Am I right? It's around May
Yeah, yeah,
time, if I'm not
yeah. I
mistaken.
believe it was around May time. Yeah, it was around May time. I just went and bought stuff, and I said I'm gonna start doing this.
Yeah, so basically it's like whenever we hop onto the Discord server, and I saw Leo there, Leo was like, "Yo, bro, what's up?" No, I'm just shopping for my podcast equipment. So yeah, most of the time he is doing that. Like, he always a cool guy, and yeah, he's just doing his things because just chill up in that moment.
No, thank you, man. I
Okay,
appreciate that, man.
so yeah, no worries. You're a really cool guy. Okay, so before that, I have mentioned that actually you run a podcast, and actually it's the things that you really want to do, right? And that at a point of time.
Mm.
Okay, so what do you think that you have this thought to pursue your things that you really wanted to do, which is the podcast?
Yeah, I think it comes back to like kind of like my purpose in life. So obviously, like I said, I'm a youth worker as well. So that means I work with young people, trying to help them, create better life circumstances and stuff like that. So I think for me, prior to that, I've always kind of like had a purpose to kind of like create some type of value and challenge people for growth. And kind of like I had this gift of having a conversation. But obviously,
Yeah,
having a conversation online, as you know yourself at the moment, is very different to having a conversation in
yeah,
person. So yeah, but one of
defo.
the things I wanted to do, I wanted to start this platform, which is the podcast called Beyond the Surface, where I can have powerful conversations with different kinds of people, and then create
Yeah,
content for listeners to listen to and just go, you know what, that's really cool. I'm going to apply this to my life, and I've learned this, and I'm taking this away from it, and so on, so on. So kind of like that's how it
yeah.
kind of started. But yeah, I wanted to do a podcast for a while, and obviously podcasts are kind of cool at the moment. If you was to
It
look
was a
at it from
trend.
a different point, if you was to look at it from a different point of view, a musician going to a studio to create a song isn't any different from a person in a studio creating a podcast. The only difference is
Yeah,
like one person is rhyming, they have music in the background. The other person isn't rhyming and they have no music, but they're both creating content that someone can listen to and then respond to. So people listen to podcasts, and then people have all kinds of responses. For some people, it inspires them, so they end up doing different things in life. For other people, it doesn't do anything because they don't take any action. That's the response. Not taking action is a response as well. So yeah.
yeah. So speaking of like podcast is being a great platform to share us different kind of perspective, and as you mentioned that you have a platform for you to share that different kind of light perspective and with amazing peoples that you have invited as your guests. So do you think actually the trend now, I don't know, I don't really know in your, I mean, in Western country, but actually in Asian country we didn't really like go into this what we so call podcast platforms. It's just a audio file that we run through and we just listen to it. And I actually I know that in Western country it's quite popular. Okay, podcast is quite
Hmm.
popular in that culture. So what do you think, like is there any difference you think is a different kind of videos and just audio? Is there a difference for you to think, like what it makes so
Yeah.
special about podcasts?
I think so I think I'll say two things. I think podcasts so I don't think podcasts are new. So let me put it this way. I don't think podcast is a new
Yeah,
thing. I think podcast has been around for years, and what I
yeah,
mean by that is that we've had radio for years. Radio was the podcast. The only difference is it's like the
yeah,
same
yeah,
way
yeah. Back then it
TV.
was a really
Yeah,
podcast.
the same way that TV has now become Netflix and YouTube and all these different platforms, that's the new TV. The
Yeah.
difference is we have the freedom to what we listen to. Where back in the day, if you go on TV, you have to wait for certain movies, you have to wait for certain programs. If you go on the
Oh,
radio, you
yeah,
have to
yeah,
wait
yeah,
for certain people to come on. So basically, nothing's really changed. The
yeah.
only thing that's changed is that we have the freedom to choose what we listen to on what podcast. We choose the podcast, or we choose what radio we want to listen to. You can choose what you want to watch. So we have the freedom to decide what kind of content we want to consume. So I wouldn't say it's new. And then the other point I was going to make, can you tell me? Can you give me the question again? Like, I was going to make another point.
Okay, so for the question just now, actually, I'm asking you, is like, do you think is there any difference, like in nowadays so as we have video to
Yeah.
watch, okay, so we have video to watch. So what makes podcast so special? Like people's more willing to listen to podcasts as an audio file rather than just watching some visual things, and like still you can get some advices or you can get some things that you can watch through the videos, but some of the peoples they prefer to listen to audio file, as we know that actually podcast now is a trend, right?
Yeah.
So what
So
do you think made podcast so stand up? I mean, stand up special.
yeah. So I think I think there's one important thing about podcasts. I think what makes it special is because a podcast is a conversation that someone can have access to at any a given point. So, for example, if I'm listening to a certain
Yeah,
podcast where there's three people talking, it's the same as me having a conversation. So, what I mean by
yeah,
having a conversation is, sometimes let me put it this way, yeah. In real life, you can be sitting with
yeah,
another three people in the same room, and those three people are having a conversation
yeah.
and you're just there listening. So you're part of the conversation. You're just not speaking, but you're listening. So a podcast is the same thing. In terms of listening, you get a chance to be part of a conversation that you can listen to. So I think that's what makes it special. And thanks to internet and all the technology, you get to experience that. Where like back in the day, without a podcast platform, you'd have to go to those people to have that conversation. Where now we can just have access to loads of different conversations at any point. So I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. So actually, from my point of view, like podcast is actually a platform that you're like you're hanging out with friends, you know. So someone is just listening through our conversations, and they might get an insight or perspective or different kind of advices from the conversations, and it's actually a very very comfortable situations and atmosphere. It's just like what when I DM you, you say like it's not an interview things, right? So actually, it stand up really special. In a podcast, it's like we talk, we have a guest. Instead, like we interviewing them in a very serious way. So I guess the people's willing to listen to podcasts is because it's more chill, I would say, and they
Mm.
would just feel like, okay, I'm kind of involved in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
also like there's this whole thing of like having access to very like interesting people, right? Because like sometimes in real life I might not actually know that many people who are so interesting and they have such unique perspectives where the podcasting platform gives me the opportunity to have access to them and their insights. So I get to learn those unique like ways of looking at life, which is really cool.
yeah, man. I 100% agree with that. You know, like so upon I mean throughout this journey that you has been starting up for your podcast for a quite long while, right? I mean at least a few months. So do you have any obstacles or challenges that you feel and you met and you think is kind of hard to get through, or any things that you can share throughout this journey that you are experienced now?
Yeah, I think I can say like three things. I think running a fully functional podcast on a consistent basis. I don't mean like once every month. I mean on a consistent weekly basis. I think it's really
Yeah,
difficult to do so when you have a full-time job and other commitments. So I think that's the challenge number
yep.
one. So it does
Mm-hmm,
consume some
mm-hmm.
time, in terms of preparation and stuff. Number two
Yeah,
is, like when we schedule our podcasting sessions and stuff, like some days I might not be feeling great, but I still have to go ahead with
yeah.
it
Oh yeah,
because
yes.
that's
Defo,
yeah, that's the
defo.
point of being consistent. So sometimes the content can spike up and down based on how I feel on the day and stuff like that. And I think the third
Yeah.
thing, um, like the third challenge is that it's a thing of like it has to be consistent. It's I can't just turn off any given week. I have to make sure that I can't just take a break
No,
because that's the whole
it's
point
like
of.
yeah, instead of like consistent, actually sometimes we have a requirement for ourselves, right? It's just like we have to hit certain requirements for ourselves, and we, in some sense, in a like a perfectionist for the things that we really wanted to do,
Mhm.
because we're looking for the quality that we really want to hit. We agree that sometimes people's mindset, when they're trying to start up some things, or they just trying to step up the first step and they never try, they would think that they fail. So what do you think about this mindset? It's like whenever I step it out, fuck it. Okay. So we, instead of thinking like, what if I fail? Just think about what if I success, right? What do you think about this?
Yeah. So what I think. Yeah. Let me put it this way, right? If I was to ask you a question, what if Michael Jordan, yeah, what if Michael Jordan was scared to take shots? Would he be Michael Jordan? What if Steve Jobs was scared about what they're gonna think about his product? Would there be an iPhone? So there's always this,
Oh
what
yeah.
if I fail? What if, so there's always like, what if I didn't do this? what if I didn't do the podcast? I wouldn't have created amazing content for people to listen to and potentially create change in the world. So I guess that's
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of like
yeah,
my mindset. So I guess it's about what if I didn't do this, but then kind of like in a positive way. Like it's
yeah,
almost like if someone applied for a job, it's like what if I didn't apply for this job? I wouldn't have had this job. So it's about I guess for me what it highlights is about there's power in doing something. There's power in taking a shot. There's power in trying something, you know,
yeah,
because let me put it this way: you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I think for me it's just about start taking shots, but then I guess sometimes for some people the barrier is, and I guess this is the question for people listening, is like what is stopping you from trying? Is it the way you think? Is it how you've been brought up? Is it what you learned from other people? What's stopping you from trying? And then can you just
yeah.
go fuck it, I'm gonna try anyways?
Yeah, people, you know what? There's a problem here. Like people, they often scared like to try something new, and they're scared about the, the feels, the feels of like failing each, like maybe disappointed others or they fail in the things that they really wanted to do. But they never try, and they already assume that they will fail. You know what I'm saying? So this is the
Hmm.
problems now. Like people don't really want to try, and they doesn't really get up the courage to do that the things that they really want to do. So speaking of just now that you said, you're creating amazing content with amazing people as your guests, and you might give someone's advices or perspective to view their new things. So you know what? Actually, I do really feel this because I was able to stand in these positions today. I mean, like in the emotional wise, I guess it's about like I heard one of my friends. So they he didn't really say intentionally, but it's like one of the words that he struck through my mind. Actually, it wakes me up. So actually, this is one of the
Hmm.
things that I really wanted to do this podcast too, because I know that the power of speech or talk with or the conversations between one another, it actually benefits the third party. It
Yeah.
actually not just benefits the both party that we are talking about. Actually, when someone listening to the conversations, they might have different kind of perspective to view, even though our conversations too. you know so that's the things. People don't really want to try the things. They are
Yeah.
scared to try.
Yeah, I mean, and just going back to the conversation thing, I guess the way I would describe, if someone was to ask me, how would I describe a conversation? I guess I would describe it as a perspective exchange. That's what people are doing, exchanging
Oh
perspective.
yeah.
And
Oh, I
then it's
agree
like I
that
said,
agree
the,
that
the third party will listen to it as well, and they can take some of that perspective and develop their own as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
But for people that are
because
scared to try
sometimes.
stuff,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
people that
yeah.
are scared to try stuff, I don't know. I would say I don't want to be rude, but I say fuck you. Go try go try shit, man. Go try shit. It's like really and truly. The question is like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? It's like you'll try something new, and if it doesn't work out, it's amazing because if it doesn't work out, you'll take the learning from it, which is gonna add value to you as a
Yes.
human being. And
Yeah.
if it works out, then you got something new to do. Like you're creating something new. So it's almost like you cannot lose in that situation. So just try, man. There's nothing else I
Yeah,
can really say.
yeah, like especially in our teenage, this age, we have nothing to lose, right? So as long as we tried some things, and even though, okay, let's say to the worst, what the worst happened is just that you fail one of the project that you really wanted to do, but actually you did go through the process, and actually you did learn something, right? And it
Mm,
actually benefits in a sense of your life experience or the mental or the things that you able to process in the future. Like you may be able to stand in different kind of perspective to view things, and it may helps you up in problem solving, or you're able to
mm,
feel I mean, you're able to talk with someone in different kind of perspective and more understandable towards certain particular things. So like what I said, people never they tend to escape from the things that they want to stand off. They really wanted to
yeah,
do, and they scared, but yet they are very contradicting. Like, okay, I wanted to try, but I scared to fail. So that's the mindset. For me, I was like, never try, never know, dude. Never try, never know. You have to
yeah,
try, and so that you get a result. You know what I'm saying? So it's like no matter how big step you step on your journey or the things that you really wanted to do, actually just like what I always say, a baby steps to a process. So take the process as a motivation to push you forward to achieve the goals or the things that you really wanted to do. You know,
Yeah.
I would really like to someone really they able to take up this because I took up a lot of courage to start up things too, you know.
Mm.
And not sure whether Leo remember, but actually during that time when we met on the server, I'm really in a very down mood. I'm really like, oh fuck me, fuck the world, why you do this to me, But you know, yeah, after a long while, like I met a bunch of amazing people. So I would really think that actually sometimes you ask help from others, or like you reach out to others for your own good. Actually it's good, like it benefits you. So what do you think about reaching out friends for help? Because some people thinks that I don't want to create some troubles or things towards others. I just want my things to get sorted. And I scared that people thinks I'm vulnerable, and I'm not there. I mean, I don't want to step up the first step. So what do you think about it?
I think I agree with the point that you said people think they're vulnerable, but I think being vulnerable is not a bad thing. I think for example, like even to be in a loving relationship, people have to be vulnerable, So and it's not
Yeah.
just romantic relationships, like even to have friendships, like people they need to be vulnerable, man, because like otherwise, like what's the foundation of that relationship or that friendship, It's like, so I think it's an important part because by being vulnerable, like people are building trust, and not having trust in a relationship or a friendship is not a friendship you want to have. And I think, yeah, and I agree. I think it's not, anyone can say anything about it, but it's not easy to build like meaningful and authentic relationships with people.
Oh yeah. Yes,
But I
yes,
think
yes.
I think in terms of what I think about, and I think the best like advice I would give to someone in general when it comes to that, I would say become a better judge of a character um, when meeting people. Just kind of like maybe look at what values you appreciate in people. So when you come across those
Oh
values
yeah.
within another person, and you go like, what, this is a person I'd like to connect with. I think that's an important thing to do.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. So, like a lot, some not necessarily romantic relationship, right? So sometimes friendship, familyship, there's a lot of different kind of relationship that we have to build on, upon like what you mentioned just now. It's all about trust. And being vulnerable actually is about like the trustworthy of you know the maybe the others, the trustworthy towards yourself and them. It's just between the both parties. So
Mm,
being vulnerable is not wrong towards those who really you care about, or for those who really care about you. Like vulnerability, people try to like, especially in our culture, in the whole world culture, like we men, we couldn't be vulnerable, like we could you
mm,
could like you feel some things, or your things that you have gone through some bad shits happens, you couldn't be vulnerable and you have to be strong. So I do things that this is kind of toxic, I would say. So it builds up a lot of people's their mental health is because of this being not vulnerable towards others, and it got effect. So I do
mm.
really things that reaching out with others is not a is really a good things. It's really good for reaching out others help. So speaking of that, I've been in the server for quite long time, and we throw back to a long time ago, and actually we have
Mm.
sort things out. And there's one common questions that always asked across everyone, okay, everyone. So now we are talking about relationship things, like romantic relationships, like people always tend to ask, could you be friend with your ex? So what do you think about that?
Could I be friends with my ex? Um, I guess. No, it's an interesting question, but I would say I think the way I'm going to answer this question, I'm not going to say yes or no because obviously that would be too simple. But I think it depends. I think
Yes.
there's a lot of variables. I think there's a lot of variables because I think some people can be friends with some of the exes and some of them they can't. So I think it depends on the type of connection they had, if they're still in love with the ex, I think someone that's still in love with the ex cannot be friends with the ex because that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Um,
you know what? Actually, I think it's more about like when you got breakup, you I mean both sides doesn't have to create a hatred towards each other, right? It's just that you guys are in the couple level now. So you guys are just couldn't um couldn't stay on the level of couple, so you just downgrade to a friendship. So
yeah,
there's
but
nothing
but but
conflict.
but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know the thing I would say is that, so let's say for example, let's say someone's had a breakup and there's two people.
Yeah,
And then let's say one person doesn't love the other person no more, but the other person is still in love with the other person. I don't think they can have
yeah,
a friendship, just because, purely because they don't feel, they're not on a similar page with each other. So one
yeah,
person's always gonna like feel a type of way, while the other
yeah,
person's gonna think like we can be friends. So I think that's very important. But you know what? I think the most important thing is, out of all of the, I can give you loads of different reasons for why someone could be friends or not be friends after the breakup. I think the most important thing is, what determines if someone can be a friend or not after the breakup is how they empower themselves. How much power do they have within themselves, not to allow this other person make them feel a type of way. If someone can
yeah,
have
yeah.
a lot of resilience towards it and stuff, then I think they can do it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, like, well, for me, I do agree that actually you can be friends with your ex, but not instantly. But it took some times.
Mm,
So you let days, maybe you took months, years to fade out all the emotions things away, and
mm-hmm.
you just remain the friendship. Because for me, I think that there's a couple there you just couldn't reach a couple level, and you guys just, it's just the spark and the chemical is not there anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just that you guys can not be couple anymore, but you guys can be friend. But it's not instantly. You guys need to take times like to grieve, or like take time
Mm,
to process everything why it didn't make out, and just let time fade out everything, and you guys just be friends. Because I
yeah.
think there's no point towards okay, to me, I would like to disclaim, there's, if this kind like a relationship, normal relationship, you guys can be friends with your ex, but not with those abusing relationship, of
Yeah.
course. Like, no matter physical abuse or emotional abuse. Okay, so that's bad. So just fuck them for for those
Yeah. Fuck
abuser,
them.
and you just ran away from your life. Fuck them, man. And there's a lot of people like they abuse on these relationships. So for me, that I agree with that, it's just like a normal relationships, and it takes times. At least
Yeah. Yeah.
for me, I don't understand like why create hatred towards each other if you guys break up in a,
Oh no,
I
I
mean,
don't. I
I would
don't.
say uh
I think I think the
just like a
hatred.
situations.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the hatred is just more like, there's a saying, hurt people. So I think the hatred builds from
Rejections,
that.
right?
So,
The
yeah,
rejection.
so someone gets hurt and then they try to hurt someone else and stuff. So I think that's where it comes from. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what it is. But
Yeah,
also,
but for me, yeah.
but
You,
yeah, I was gonna say, but also, like, I don't think people need to be friends with the ex. Like, that's, as long as they understand that's an option and they don't have to be friends with the ex. Because, like, sometimes I'm like, why be friends with your ex? And there's that saying that exes
yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
exes for a reason. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because things never work out at the point of time, right? Yeah, so like, so for me, I think okay, it still depends on what, actually it's just like what you said. It depends on the situations or the the breakups happens, I would say. So majority of the times, sometimes just like what you said, I totally agree that it must be a reasons why they become X and X, right? So if you guys is like not compatible and you guys not really not really bad conditions to break up with, for me I think it's still fine. But it's like, you know, sometimes we still have to appreciate their parents, even though they become an ex, because they live our life and they appear in life. They give a different kind of lessons, and it's just like, okay, let me give our example. Yeah, listen. So it's like the God just arrange a people appear in your life, and they just teach you some things, and after they done, they just left. So instead of just ranting or just like complaining why they leave, why not you just take the lessons and the experience, you learn it and you absorb it yourself, and it get benefits in you, right? So
yeah, no,
it's just
I agree with that. Yeah, and I think, yeah, and I think also, just just on a random point, like sometimes people kind of like give too much power to the breakup. You know, it's like
Yeah.
if people looked at a breakup or something just a bit like it's like it's not that deep, and you know it's like it's more about learning, it's about steps, right? It's like this, what did this relationship teach me that I can take on to my next relationship to have a successful
Yeah.
one? You know, what
Yeah.
was it that, you know, what went right and what went wrong, what could I do differently? And I think if people and I think there's two different types of people. I think there's people who go to relationships and something fails, and then they take the learning from it and they become a better person and they have a much better relationship later on. And there's some people who just don't do the changes. You know, they just go from one relationship to another, and then another relationship, and they haven't changed anything. You know, they're not learning from they're not improving themselves. You know.
Yeah. So this link back actually for someone that they didn't learn some things happens as an experience, and they didn't really appreciate the experience that they have been through. So for those
Mm.
who go through shit and they improve themselves and they take the journey or the experience, take it as to benefit themselves. Actually, I do really respect them. So going through a bad things happen or bad shits, it's not easy at all. Okay, I would like to say it again. It's not easy at all, especially is that you only have a person to deal with and you doesn't really have a friends, or you doesn't really to reach out to others because of self-doubt and self-esteem, everything. So in our culture, like going to therapy in these kind of situations, it might affect, I mean, this situation that might affect your mental health. So going to therapy in in our culture, Asian culture, is not really famous or popular, I would say. But what do you think about, like, actually when you're facing some things and you attend and therapy, and actually you just talk about some things with your therapist, it might help, right? So what do you think about it?
And like I think number one is like, if can you get through this without therapy? And I think, you know, if someone can't, then therapy is not a bad option. You know, I think that's, if you think about what therapy is, that's what therapies are built for. You know, that's what it's for. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and I guess so, yeah, it goes back to, you know, if the person, where's the person's resilience levels? You know, like if the person is resilient enough to deal with it themselves, then you know they might not need therapy. But if not, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. And I think I embrace therapy. I think people should go to therapy if they don't feel like they have any other options. You know, that's just a it's
Yeah.
just a platform to deal with the issues. You know, so
Yeah, I think actually, going to therapy is not that weird, or you're not you're because in okay, I would say this is because in our culture, there's a culture difference between you and me, of course. So it's like in our culture, when you go to therapies and you meet a therapist to just to try to solve up your problems, people would think that you are a freak. You are like, you have something's problems. So, and like, I really encourage
so so,
someone.
so,
Yeah.
sorry to jump in, but to those people that
No
think
worries.
that, I want to say fuck you, because the issue is in therapy. The issue is what those people think about what therapy is. That's the actual
Yeah.
issue. The issues with the therapy's got nothing to do with anything. The issue is how people perceive people that go to therapy. So fuck them.
No, there is a reasons why the existence of therapies, right? Is there to solve the problems and get good in your mental health, because in our culture, Asian culture is very famous about our parents or other older generations will be like, so when we are in this stage and we face a problem, we could solve it ourselves. So
Hmm.
they don't really take care about like the youngsters or the younger generations mental health, and we don't really think about it. So
You know
like
what's funny?
I really, yeah.
You know what's funny? Yeah, like I've met like two people in my life who prior like used to say like, yeah, therapy's like for weak people, therapy's this, therapy's that. But they went through certain experiences in life where they ended up going to therapy themselves, and they said it's the most amazing thing they've been to. You know, so again, you know, it's life is funny like that.
Yeah, because they thinks that therapy is for those, they think it's free to go and it doesn't really have to exist. So especially the generations gap difference, like we don't really get used, and we doesn't really have a good knowledge about what therapy is. Basically, in our understanding, therapy is for those who really like, psychopath, and those maybe have like really deal with some real problems about their mental health. So
Mm.
we have to get rid. I'm really here to encourage that if you have some things to deal with, if you think there's no one can, to solve your problems or reach out, please do reach out to a therapist in online, on online. There's a lot of different kinds of therapies there, and you will be shocked by how actually it works and it really useful. So, to wrap up these sessions today, so we almost come to the end today. And actually I always think about mental health is really the things that we really want to, sort out, because the life gives us a lot of challenges. We doesn't really have someone to reach out, and it causes a lot of mental health, and sometimes people doesn't really aware that they actually suffering from mental health. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you think? Do you have anything to tell those people who actually they are suffering in mental health, but they doesn't know how to reach out to help, or they couldn't really help themselves? Do you have anything to tell them, or just to encourage them, to support them?
Yeah, number one, like if they don't know how to reach out, like I'm still gonna put it like this. I think they still have to reach out. They have to try to reach out.
Yeah,
So just because they don't know how to, I would say don't let that stop you because you don't know how to reach out. Try and reach out, and I guess try to understand. Like try to invest a little bit time in yourself. Understand who you are and ask yourself questions and just kind of like just make yourself like the biggest priority in life. And
yeah,
because you're like you are the longest commitment you're gonna have. You're gonna commit to yourself for the longest time out of everything in life. So you're gonna be with yourself for the rest of your life, basically. So just just try to reach out. Um, you know what? Don't even try to reach out. Reach out. That's what I'm gonna say. Don't try to reach
yeah,
out.
that's good, that's
Yeah,
good. Don't try
yeah.
to reach
Reach
out.
out.
You
Yeah, just reach out, man.
just have to look for help from others. So actually, for those who like, I have some things to talk about them. So actually I have some things to share, like just what Leo has mentioned. You have to question yourself and question your own, where's your own value, and you have to love yourself. Like learn to love ourselves in terms of self-love. We can't offer others, like, ourselves, if we don't even know who am I, or who are we actually in any kind of different relationships, no matter in romantic relationships, friendships, or even family. Okay, if we don't even know ourselves, how can we offer we ourselves to others? So that's
Mm,
not fair. And like mental health is significantly important, and we always tend to avoid it until something really happens, and we just try to escape it until it's like a snowball effect, and roll and roll and roll and roll. It become bigger. So when things get worse, we only started to realize, okay, actually this is the things. But self love actually is not just stressing yourself to be good, as like you hope others to see in you, or portraying you, but how you genuinely feel. So don't be afraid to validate your feels, like emotions, depressions per se. Feel any kind of rejections or the denial feelings. Feel anything and face it. So it's okay to be not okay. And also for those who are just grief on their shits, you will start to feel some happiness in a short while. But I promise you, if you're going through this process, you will come back stronger, like really, really strong, because you have been through everything, and you know how to learn to solve yourself and sort things out. So that's the things that I want to share in today. So before we end these sessions, do you still have anything to tell our audience and listeners today, Leo?
nah, just I guess the last thing I'll say is that where we're in life at the moment, just want to remind you that before your job and before anything else, you're a human being, and in the world there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise that will try and distract you from who you are and all these other things and what's important to you. So sometimes just take it easy, slow down, cancel out the noise, and just remember who you are, man.
Yeah. So we have come to the end of this session today. So we really thank you and appreciate Leo as our guest today, as our first episode today. And as
Thanks
I
for having me,
mentioned,
man.
No problems, man. So for those who really interested, or for those interested in Leo, maybe maybe his personality, maybe you think he looks good, anything like his podcast. I will link down the descriptions in my descriptions box, and you guys feel free to check him out. And if you like our videos, like our podcast, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And we are streamed in all different kind of platforms. We have in Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Instagram, YouTube. So feel free to share with your friends. And I think today this is the end of the session. So we will see you next time, and thank you.